Experience tranquility. Pass into the iris.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Iris Podcast. I'm your host, Bowsy. Joining me, we have Apathy and we have Train, two of the best cosmic castaways you've ever seen. How are you two doing today?
Better now. I got complimented on stream. Wow. Said nicer things than my family has to me recently.
Jesus.
Sorry.
Wow.
I don't know about that one.
Can we
at least.
Can we get some love in the chat for Train going?
It's going to be a fun one tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be one heck of a night here. It's the final week of stage one. As you can tell, it's going to be a great night. It's the final week of stage one. There's a lot to go over, and we're going to start it off with our first section with Amp It Up. Of course, we just wrapped up week number 4. We'll start off with you, Apathy. What was your favorite moment from week number 4?
Mine was Deathwatch getting the map 5 upset over Feeders Divided over in Discord tier EU. It looked like a really good game, went back and forth, but Deathwatch at the end just kind of clutched it out on Lijiang Tower and took that big upset.
Deathwatch taking a lot of map 5 victories so far in the season, no exception there. Train, what about you?
Yeah, for me, it had to be Adrenalines versus Avalon, in part because of the mystery of it. Like, at the time, I was playing games late until like 1 a.m. and their game was still going on. Turns out they started 2 hours late. I went to map 5 anyway, and then when I watched it back, it was a really exciting game. So, great moment and a little mystery for me.
Yeah, definitely. Adrenalines versus Avalon, pretty good game there. I personally liked something else in Discord tier. I liked Redacted getting the upset over Joey Esports, the smelly org over there. I said it myself. Redacted are probably going to make championship bracket, and this win cements them into probably an A group heading into this next stage. So really strong performance from Redacted, and they're definitely waking up at the right time. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to keep up the momentum. But now as we enter week number 5, what are you looking forward to most this week, Apathy?
Probably that match between Avalon and Doodles. They're both 4-0 teams in their pool, albeit one of the weaker pools, but I think it's going to be a good sign to show which one of these two teams is really going to be a contender throughout stage 2, because it's kind of been up in the air because their strength of schedule has been rather low.
Yeah, Avalon versus Doodles definitely be an interesting match to watch. Train, what about you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to two teams over in Harmony Tier NA that we don't hear too much about on a regular basis. Narwhal Con X taking on Fahrenheit 972. Both teams sitting at 2-2 right now. Narwhal Con X at the +3 map differential and Fahrenheit at the +2. So statistically lined up to be a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, definitely Narwhal Connects versus Fahrenheit. Going to be a very interesting match to determine, I believe, the B seed versus the Elim. I believe that's the match decider. I can check that right now. And that is, they're both in the B group. So it'll be interesting to see which team comes out on top in that match. I'm personally not looking forward to a specific match. I'm looking forward, surprisingly, to the end of Overwatch 1. What we see in this final week of play could mean absolutely nothing in 2 weeks. When we come back for event week, it's going to be an entirely new game, entirely new meta, entirely new structure. Everything could change in an instant, and that's what I'm most excited for. I am ready for the craziness to begin. We're probably going to be seeing a lot of big matches go in a lot of different ways when we come back from event week. And now, as usual, a bold prediction for the remainder of the season. Apathy.
I think that some teams that are currently undefeated, so teams that are 4-0, are going to go 0-3 in stage 2. I think there will be 3 teams that do this.
We've always had that history of teams making it into the top pool and then not winning a single game. It's happened so many times before. Be interesting to see if that keeps tradition here this season.
You're making it sound less bold now. It sounds spicier until you look at the history and explain it that it happens every season.
I mean, it doesn't. It happens every season, but it might not happen 3 times every season. I didn't say it happens 7 times every season. Oh my goodness, it's a very common occurrence. But I mean, it happens every season though. But we'll see. We'll see if it happens this much in season 9. Train, what about yours?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the opposite end of teams as Apathy is. I think that each tier is going to have at least one Elim pool make it at least to the quarterfinals. maybe even beyond that. I think Overwatch 2 is really setting us up to have our expectations kind of flipped on its head a bit. And I think that's going to be happening pretty much across the board.
Definitely, Overwatch 2 will definitely be changing up everything, as I said, so there is that potential for Elim pool teams to start making dark horse runs throughout the entire season. We'll see if it keeps up. I went for something a little more short-term. I didn't go for, like, the long-term, like, playoffs, end of Stage 2. I went for right now, and I said each NA tier will have at least one pool with 0 undefeated teams at the end of this week, meaning that each NA tier will have at least one pool where the top team has a 4-1 record. They are not 5-0. This already is a thing in some tiers, but not in others. So it'll be interesting to see if it's able to line up. And yes, this sounds less bold than you may think. I know. At least it's less bold than Apathy's. So be interesting to see if it holds up.
What's the one that's missing? Discord tier?
I believe
Trans tier too.
Trans tier is missing
Trans
it, and Discord tier is also missing it. So
Discord's gonna be the tough one.
yeah, actually no, Discord tier has it because Indigo A has it.
Oh, yeah.
Sports and Redactor 3-1, right? I think Harmony is missing it as well.
No, because
Oh,
my group.
interesting.
It depends on the matches this week, but still, there's a lot of things that can go up in the air.
About that happening.
Oh, I got a reconnection successful message.
Yep, we're back.
I think we're back. All right. Where did I cut off? Does anyone in chat mind telling me where I cut off, if possible? I hope it wasn't anywhere important. But let's see.
Like 5 seconds.
5
From
seconds.
Choice Week 1.
Okay, so basically I was saying blah blah blah. Every team has a possibilities. Maybe because I mentioned Joey Esports. Okay, no, my computer didn't PC. It's not. My computer didn't DC that time. It's definitely not Joey Esports. That in mind, we're gonna hope this continues to not happen because I swear to God, my cable is connected. If the OBS disconnects, it's an OBS issue. And we're gonna head to our first weekly video. We have our montage from this week, or from week 4 plays. A special shout out to Iconic for editing this week's weekly montage. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again, Iconic, for editing this week's weekly montage video. Guys, make sure you submit your clips to that. We love seeing your amazing plays throughout the Tranquility community, and it's always fun to see those amazing highlights every single week, so make sure you get those submitted. But now, it is time to get into the nitty-gritty of it all, starting off with our Iris top teams. Of course, our top 4 and top 8 in every single tier. And we're going to start off with the Harmony EU tier. In 4th place this week is Acer. 3rd place, Dino Nuggies. 2nd place, Brig Divers. And 1st place this week is the Hope Guardians. Apathy, your thoughts on the top 4 for Harmony EU?
I think it's pretty good. I don't really see any issues. I think right now Dino Nuggies is like 3rd, but I can see them, bouncing back up to that 2 or 1 spot. But I think based off of where we are right now, I think this ranking is perfect.
Train, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm personally a little confused not to see Hivemind on the list. Sitting at 2-2 right now, with a clean 4-0 victory over Brig Divers in week 2. So some strong performances out of them. They also took a map off of Hope Guardians this past week. So in my mind, they and AC are probably pretty close to that 4 spot, but I would have flipped Hivemind's direction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see how it goes. I also want to point out here, because obviously we get to see the votes here, Hope Guardians and Brig Divers are separated by a single point. That is the difference between Hope Guardians and Brig Divers right now, is a single point. I think this week is going to be interesting because they're playing each other this week. That could be the decider to see who gets that, who is going to make the difference heading into week number 6, or at least moving forward in the tournament. Now let's move on to the Harmony North America side. In 8th place is EX Kusanagi. 7th place, Ace High. 6th place, the Galactic Penguins. 5th place, falling down, is Strix. 4th place is Milliwatt Gaming, making a great upsurge. 3rd place, Geometric. 2nd place, Koala Kings. And in 1st place is your Flashbacks. Apathy, your thoughts on this top 8?
This is the top 8 that I'm the most happy with. I think 4, 5, 6 is interesting, seeing all, the teams in one pool together. And I think after this week, we might see that shuffle around. We might see that stay exactly the same. We'll have to see how the matches go. But I think this list is completely perfect. There's a couple good teams sitting at that 9-10 spot, but I don't think any of them quite deserve to be in this top 8 yet anyway, so.
Train, your thoughts on the top 8?
I personally think Geometric is probably a little high on the list. They are a 4-0 team, so definitely a good team. I don't know if they're quite 3rd. They've had a bit of a weak strength of schedule, in my opinion, against Chinchillas, BBB, and X Kusanagi with an FF win. And I think they have another FF this week.
Correct.
So I think they're a little bit high. I was going to say I think Strix should be higher, but they're coming off a 4-0 loss to Milliwatt Gaming, so they're probably right about where they belong in retrospect.
That was a 4-0 loss to Milliwatt. Strix this week, it is worth noting, Strix did not have their off-tank player this week. They had a ringer for that. But still, it's hard to see Strix. It definitely was a difficult match for them, and obviously Milliwatt showing strength in that match. So we'll have to see if Milliwatt can ride that momentum heading into our final match of the week. They are currently the only undefeated team in Harmony NA, or in Harmony in their pool right now. So be interesting to see if they're able to keep that up heading into the second stage. Now let's move on to the Discord EU side, which has looked pretty similar, albeit there has been a little bit of changes. In 4th place, making their debut, is Dragon's Aura. 3rd place, Feeders Divided. 2nd place, Death Watch. And 1st place, Feeders United. Apathy, your thoughts on this top 4?
I think 1, 2, and 3 are cut and dry. I do kind of think that we could see Mythical Kitsune at number 4, but I'm not unhappy with Dragon Aura making a showing for this week.
Train, your thoughts on the top 4?
Yeah, I agree with Apathy. Maybe you switch Dragon's Aura and Feeders Divided. Maybe you put Mythical Kitsune in there. Regardless, those 3, 4, 5 spots are pretty close. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the list, I think.
Yeah, Mythical Kitsune was voted 5th in this ranking, so definitely we probably know the top 5 at this point for Discord EU. Be interesting. It probably will be shuffling around a lot, but we'll be interested to see how well all these teams go out as we continue the season. Now moving over to Discord Tier NA, which has seen some sort of shakeup after last week. In 8th place is Doodles. 7th place is Adelaide Eclipse. 6th place, Redacted. 5th place, Joey Esports. 4th place, Avalon. 3rd place, Reminiscence. 2nd place, Chicago Deep Dish. And 1st place is MI7, retaining the title. Apathy, your thoughts on this top 8?
I am sorry to the Avalon lovers, but I think going map 5 with Adrenalines is not how you should be moving up the ladder. I would switch them with Redacted, perhaps.
Yeah, going to map 5 against someone who has only won 1 game all season and against an 0-4 team. Ooh. Train, your thoughts on this list?
Yeah, I mean, I can see we have a lot of Rem haters in chat. I gotta be honest, I'm a little surprised to see Deep Dish over Rem. I think those teams are like pretty even. Rem does have that loss to MI7 in their back pocket, which is a problem. But a close race for 2 and 3 there. I'm picking Rem in general. I think they're a little bit more flexible team from what I've seen. But that's just kind of the way it goes, right?
Yeah, definitely. 3 points separating 2nd and 3rd, by the way. So 3 extra points for Chicago Deep Dish got him that 2nd place this week. And now we move over to the final group, which is the Transcendence tier. In 8th place, making their debut, I'm pretty sure, is Frost Fisher. 7th place, Classified. 6th place, 413 Catalyst. 5th place, Reborn Your Band. I mean, Devil Dukes. 4th place, Sydney Sunsets. 3rd place, Amnesia. 2nd place, Decapitators. And 1st place is the Guangzhou Gangsters. Apathy, your thoughts on this top 8?
I like Frost Fisher's debut. I actually kind of think it's too low. I think they could be as high as 6th or, possibly even 5th. They beat Arctic Foxes, who beat the Devil Dukes. They did lose the Devil Dukes, but they've made not a lot, but a couple key roster adjustments since then that I think have helped buff them up a lot, and I would personally put them higher.
Yeah, definitely some big roster moves on that team right now, especially 4 letters LARS is all I'm going to say. Train, your thoughts on this top 8?
Yeah, speaking of Arctic Foxes, like, where are they, man? Where are they at? Really strong, convincing win over Devil Dukes. Some roster confusion, I think, off and on, going kind of back and forth on their end, and they're still pulling results like that out of the hat. I'm also surprised to see Culture left out. They've had some strong performances against really good teams. They played a pretty close 4-0 loss to Decaps last week. I say pretty close. I know it's 4-0. Every map was still close. Watch it back. Trust me. But overall, I think those 7 through 10 spots are pretty interchangeable at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Culture and Arctic Foxes, just so you guys know, 9th and 10th, respectively. So they were just left outside of this top 8. So they still are in contention, but just don't have enough votes compared to the rest of the group. So it's definitely an interesting top 8, and it's going to be very interesting heading into stage number 2, how this is going to fluctuate, because, again, we're heading into a new game, new meta, new everything. So this could change immediately when we enter in Overwatch 2, so we'll have to see how well it holds up. Speaking of things not holding up well, it's time to head to our main section of the day, which is the unofficial mid-season awards, or as I like to call them, the unofficial Season 9 Overwatch 1 awards, because as I've said hundreds of times, we're not going back to Overwatch 1 after this week. So there's a lot on the line here. Basically, we're just going to be picking who we think are the mid-season awards winners. These are not official. You don't get anything except your name mentioned on the podcast for getting a mid-season award. So don't be clamoring if you win, and don't be hating on us if you don't win. If you do message us on Twitter, #+ratio. Let's move over now to the unofficial mid-season awards ceremony. Starting off in North American Harmony tier, Apathy, I want to know, who is your pick for best tank for the unofficial mid-season awards?
I went first, so I took the easy answer. It's got to be Kiddo. Definitely the best D.Va in the tier, potentially the best at the other off tanks, but I mean, D.Va is the most important off tank in the meta right now, and he's just a star for that Flashbacks team.
as a note, if you hear Apathy making a lot of obvious picks, he was the first one to fill out all of these categories. So that is why.
Tried to leave some.
Some.
Um,
Train, who was your pick?
Yeah, I went to pick Kiddo. I'm a giant Kiddo fan, a massive respect to Kiddo. But I decided to go for Optibot here on Strix. Optibot, just a name we constantly talk about in Harmony Tier, and has been putting up the performance recently to really back that up and give a lot of. I want to give a lot of credit where credit is due for Optibot's hard work the past few seasons.
I mentioned Optibot last week, and I said that people really should be talking about him, so I'm glad to see Train mention him. I was going to pick Optibot, but after my 2-minute speech last week, I felt it would be a little bit too biased. So I ended up going to Pasty from the Flashbacks. Pasty has been a historically really good main tank here in Tranquility. In Season 7 for Sky Guardians, he was a really good player up until he ended up departing the team, and I think over on that Flashbacks roster, he has also been a really key part. When Kiddo isn't showing up, Pasty is showing up, and I feel like that he has been very crucial to the success of Flashbacks this season alongside Kiddo, so definitely a good job there for Pasty, and I think he definitely deserves a mid-season award. Let's move over to Harmony.
Tough to choose. It's going to be tough to choose which one to play starting in week 6.
It is going to be a very tough task, but they have to play at least one for one. They have to play at least both for one map, so that potential is always up in the air. Let's head over to Harmony EU now. Apathy, who is your pick for the best tank in Harmony EU?
It's got to be Narrow. Just constantly MTDing all of his matches so far. He looks great on all of his heroes, but especially that Reinhardt. So, got to go with Narrow there.
He stole my pick. Train, your thoughts?
I'm so sorry for the pronunciation. I think this name is French. I'm going to do my best. I'm warning you all in advance to mute now. But I think it's Bezunours?
Bezunoir if it's Bezunoir if it's French.
Bezunoir, okay. Ours. From Hope Guardians. There's constant pressure out of this player, and a lot of really strong just presence in general is just a word I'm always going to say when I'm talking about tank gameplay, but they're really running the tier as far as that goes. So big credit to them on Hope Guardians.
Hope Guardians tanks, again, were part of A10 Esport last season. Definitely have improved since the off season. I would definitely say that.
For sure.
I went over to Dino Nuggies and I ended up choosing Karama, who has been a main key part in the ball compositions that we've seen them run the entire season. I think Karama's done really well. I would have picked Narrow, but unfortunately Apathy did, so I had to pick Karama. So yeah, I'd give it to Karama from Dino Nuggies. Definitely seems like a very good tank player over there. Let's move over to Discord NA. Apathy, starting with you. Who is your pick for Discord NA best tank?
Gotta go with Blood Hungry, one of my favorite main tanks that I've ever had the pleasure of playing with. I've played against him a couple times. It's always scary. It's just gotta be Blood Hungry.
Blood Hungry has definitely been a good main tank in history. Train, your pick for best tank.
I was going to say I am the #1 fan of this player in Trank, but I actually don't think that's true. I'm probably like top 5, not because I don't like them, but because a lot of other people like them a fanatic amount. And this is Sticko from the Galactic Gibbons. This player has had a massive trend upward from Harmony Tier last season, and has really been putting in the work to be, I think, one of the stars, if not the star, in that Galactic Gibbons team this season.
Sticko has been really good. I mentioned them last week. They definitely are an MVP pick again this season. They definitely have improved with time. I ended up going to a team that I'm honestly surprised we haven't talked a lot about because they're undefeated thus far in the season. They've done really well overall. I went with Smokey from Chicago Deep Dish. Smokey has been a leader for Chicago Deep Dish throughout the entire season, and I honestly am surprised no one's really talked about Deep Dish or Smokey or really anybody of that caliber since the start of the season. So, yeah, I went with Smokey from Chicago Deep Dish. That's probably going to boost his ego up to a next level, and he'll announce that he's leaving for Krabby Crabbers again. But still, I think Smokey's been a very good pick over there in Discord NA, and he definitely seems like a good tank player to me. Let's move over to Discord EU now. Apathy, starting with you. Who is your best tank in Discord EU?
I went with Termi, the off tank for Deathwatch. I was watching back that map 5 banger, and they looked really good. They were kind of all over the point, or like all over the map, doing peeling, being aggressive, just kind of doing everything that a diva player needs to do.
Train, your pick for best tank.
I love fun names in general. That's just something you'll know about me. I talked about 2 Madre on the Venice Vipers like every single chance I got last season. This time I have a new player, and it is Bipolar Bear on Feeders Divided. Just a brilliant name and gameplay to match, right? When you sit down to watch a player and they have a funny name, it's one thing. But when they have a funny name and they are like noteworthy in even before you figure out the joke behind their name, that's a really impressive feat as well. And Bipolar Bear has been doing a ton of work for Feeders Divided. And I think they're one of the foundational facts of like reasons behind their strong performance this season.
Bipolar Bear, definitely a strong player for Feeders Divided. I ended up going to Feeders United, and I ended up picking someone that we talked a lot about last week, Taikutsu. Taikutsu was a very pivotal part in Feeders United's win over Feeders Divided. They're a really good main tank, and honestly, they definitely seem like they are the candidate for best main tank this season. So, I mean, if everybody's talking about Taikutsu, I had to pick Taikutsu. So, Taikutsu is my pick for best tank. Let's move over to the Transcendence tier now. Apathy, starting with you. Who is your pick for best tank?
Aplum just read my mind. Yes, I am picking Cam. I mean, I don't know. He's like been the best tank in the tier for like 3 seasons straight now. I don't really know how you don't pick Cam, especially when you're going first. I don't know. He's just really, really good, and he's good at every role. I mean, unfortunately, I've had to play against, he's come in and played flex support. I had to play against him on DPS during NAC. Well, I didn't, but I watched people do it, and I mean, he's just a really strong player.
It's kind of strange Aplum would say that, considering I see 5 people in my document when there really only should be 2 or 3. So, Aplum, if you're looking at the Iris podcast outline, I request you to stop. Train, your pick for best tank.
Okay, Aplum's got the insider information. I went for the it factor themselves, PDK on the Decapitators. I have never seen a player run it down so successfully on Sigma before, and PDK has reinvented my gameplay. It is like inspiring to watch, and I learn something new every time I watch him. So well done.
Yeah, PDK definitely a good tank player and no exception this season. I ended up going for Greninja from Amnesia. Finally back on the off-tank role after off-rolling for about 2 or 3 seasons. They've really been a good player overall on off-tank, and now they're really showing it here on Amnesia. Yes, Amnesia are not undefeated, but Amnesia are undefeated. But Greninja still can be traced to a lot of that success, unless, Capital decides to have him throw a bomb through window, and then the enemy team not even go through the area that he's throwing the bombs. But still, Greninja is my pick for best tank in Transcendence tier. Let's move over to the DPS category now. Starting off with you, Apathy. Who is your pick for best DPS in Harmony, North America?
I went with Falling Stars on Milovac Gaming. I think they haven't really been talked about too much, but watching that match back with Strix, they looked really, really good. They were incredibly tough to shut down, so they are my pick for this midseason.
Train, what about your pick?
I decided to go for what I thought was an obvious pick in Vex from Ace High. They are just like hard carrying lobbies every time they're playing. Like watching film back of this player is just inspirational. I constantly have anxiety nightmares about the idea that this player could have been on flashbacks at the beginning of the season. That team would have been too powerful. So Vex bringing a lot of value to Ace High. Definitely deserves a shout out.
I'm going to pick someone that I talked about last week. I'm going to pick Jin from Geometric. She has definitely done really well for that team, I think. Jin did really good in the feature match against the Big Bang Buccaneers, which, yes, I'm wearing their shirt on the same day Apathy's wearing his Cosmic Castaway shirt. So Jin's done really good this season, and Geometric really have a good DPS star in their hands. Real quick before we head over to our next group, I want to say that we are doing our giveaway at the end of the broadcast, so make sure if you want to if you want to enter into a free shirt from the Tranquility store, make sure you get those giveaway entries in before Comms Check. Right when Comms Check airs, I am going to be asking for our draw to be pulled. So make sure you get them in as I see them coming in now. Now I can talk about the Harmony EU tier. Apathy, who's your pick for best DPS in Harmony EU?
I went with Choanoy on the Brig Divers. I think they are part of a phenomenal DPS duo that has brought them to the record that they had at least before the disciplinary actions. But even albeit that, those two DPS players are still very, very strong and deserve credit.
Train, your pick for best DPS.
Yeah, I went to the other part of the Brig Divers DPS line in Sora. Really just watching those two players control the game so creatively and so dominantly. There isn't really any other names that stick out to me so far. Maybe like one or two, but this duo on Brig Divers is almost unstoppable at this point.
Yeah, definitely. That duo there is interesting. So I actually wrote something else here, but I'm actually going to be changing it midway through the cast because I can do that, and I'm the host. I'm picking Darkson from Hope Guardians. Darkson needs to be talked about more. They have been a really good player for Hope Guardians this entire season, and honestly, I would say Darkson might be in the running here for an end-of-season award. So my mid-season award for best DPS goes to Darkson on Hope Guardians. Let's move over to Discord North America now. Apathy, your pick for best DPS in Discord North America.
I went with Sempra on Joey Esports. A very, very raw, mechanically talented hitscan player. It reminds me of Exotaic on Valkyrie last season. Just raw aim. Talks a little bit too much, but very good player.
Sempra has definitely been able to build themselves up after Council of Anime Girls fame, if you want to call it that. So definitely has gotten better since then. Train, your pick for best DPS.
Yeah, this time I went for what I thought was the obvious pick in Reborn from Reminiscence. They are the threat behind the double shield that has been so successful for Reminiscence so far this season. Just so consistent, always like pouncing on opportunities, creating pressure from wherever they are, and absolutely never feeding, right? Never peeking early, never taking risks, just playing it safe, letting their team help out, and hard carrying when it counts. So huge ups to Reborn.
Reborn has always been a very good DPS player, and it's great to see that they are still kicking strong on Reminiscence. I went for somebody who I talked about last week. Yes, I know it's going to sound biased, but I went for Turtle from Redacted. The improvement that I've seen from Turtle this season goes unmatched. You see that closet back there? I have all my Tranquility shirts in there currently, and one of them is my Skybox shirt from Season 7, which I got for Turtle. Turtle has definitely redeemed themselves since Season 7 Skybox. They have done amazing on the DPS role, and honestly, I'm super glad to see them perform this well. They did really well against SEAL Team Spuds, and this win against Joey Esports that Redacted gotten last week definitely shows that they are definitely going to be a good quality player throughout the rest of the season, so my pick is Turtle.
On the Orisa, too.
I did not know they played the Orisa, TIL.
They played main tank last week. They beat Joey with the Turtle main tank. And I think a lot of good DPS players are very good at Orisa, so I think that's a good sign.
There are a few of them from previous Discord iterations, aren't there?
Yeah.
Well, today I learned that makes it even more compelling that Turtle is a good DPS, especially when you have that flexibility. So, great job, Turtle. Keep it up. I think you definitely are a good pick for mid-season awards. Let's move over to Discord EU. Apathy, starting with you, who's your pick for best DPS in that group?
I went with Noah on Feeders United. The clear top team right now. Looks to be one of the stars of that team. Hard to pick against them.
Train, your pick.
And I went for Meowth on Deathwatch. An incredibly important factor in a really close 3-2 win last week over Feeders Divided, I believe. But really close game. If you watch it back, Meowth is always doing their job exactly where they're supposed to be. There's not much more you can ask for. So really well done, and congratulations on a successful close match.
Meowth definitely has been a strong piece for Deathwatch. I definitely cannot argue with that. What I can argue with is Discord EU in general. We need to talk. Last week, I talked about Tomo being a really good pick over in Discord EU, and then a few days later, they end up getting dropped from Mythical Kitsune. This week, my pick was going to be How to Draw from Feeders United for best DPS, and guess what I saw this morning? How to Draw has been released from Feeders United. So, I'm going to stick with How to Draw first off, because mid-season, We're in the midseason. Technically, How to Draw has played in every single match before this, so I definitely still feel like he is in contention. But if I'm not allowed to choose him, it was hard because, again, Noah was picked, and so was Meowth, two of the top picks in the entire tier. So I went for an underdog. I went for Carissa from Cam. I watched back the feature match against Paid to Win, and Carissa was a very, very noble piece to Cam's success in that match. So I'm going to have to say Karisu from Cam, but please, Discord EU, stop dropping players I talk about. That's my only request moving forward. Let's wrap up the DPS with Transcendence tier. Apathy, starting with you. Who's your pick for best DPS in Transcendence?
I've been a Pyro stan since all last season. You know, he carried my ass on Cosmic, so I gotta stick with Pyro again. I feel like he's been kind of overshadowed by people like PDK and Cry on that team, but Pyro is still one of the best DPS players in this tier.
Train, your pick.
I went for Akua on Amnesia. You saw a clip from them on the montage this week of just absolutely cleaning up a King's fight that was extremely losable. And if you watch back any games, like they're just doing that constantly. So credit where credit is due. Akua putting in a lot of the clutch work on a very successful Amnesia squad this season.
We saw Akua in the montage earlier today on that Cassidy play on King's Row, definitely showing their prowess there. I went for somebody who I swear deserved way more awards than they got last season. Haruhiro from Guangzhou Gangsters. I did not go for Frozen. I went for Haruhiro because Haruhiro has been a strong part of the Guangzhou Gangsters / Epizeux's roster, period. There is no doubt about that Haruhiro is an MVP caliber player, and for that reason, I am choosing them for best DPS in Transcendence tier. So it'll be interesting to see how these continue on as we go in the season. Now let's wrap up our roles here with best support. Starting in the Harmony North American tier, Apathy, who's your pick for best support?
I went with Mixer Kraken on Strix. I feel like these tend to turn towards flex support, so I was kind of trying to find a main support player that really, is a solid foundation for that team, and I think I found it with Mixer Kraken.
Mixer Kraken definitely coming back down into Harmony tier after playing for Valkyrie last season. Definitely has done really well for Strix. Train, your pick.
I went for Water on Milovac Gaming. A massive 4-0 win over Strix this week, which we already mentioned. Yes, Strix had a ringer, whatever. But Water, extremely consistent in the back line. A huge factor in the team's success so far. And Milovac, sitting towards the top of the tables right now. I mean, if we look record-wise, they're still a 4-0 team, right? They've only lost 3 maps. And so if you've got someone as consistent and survivable in your backline as Water has been, that really gives you a lot of help there. So, well done.
Water definitely has done really well for Milovac Gaming. Milovac Gaming, again, really good so far this season. I went for a Flashbacks player, and, they've gotten a lot of support. They've done really well this entire season. I think I've definitely commented them on a lot of times. That's right, it's Coconut. Coconut has done really well for Flashbacks this season. Coconut usually does really good overall on the main support role, so definitely I feel like Coconut, whenever they're on main support, definitely does really good on the main support role. And honestly, for Flashbacks this season, Coconut has been a difference maker when it matters. So definitely Coconut, I think, is a good pick for best support in Harmony North America. I'm very glad that Thuggington is not disappointed in me for not saying Thuggington after building up that sort of storyline. Let's move over to Harmony EU now. Starting off with you, Apathy. Who is your pick?
I went with Frostitute on Dino Nuggies. They were a star player for Venice Vipers last season. Who of course won, and I think they're one of the better players for Dino Nuggies as well.
Yeah, definitely Frostitute. Also one of my favorite names in that tier as well. So definitely does really good. Train, your thoughts?
I went for Kaiten on Hope Guardians. I've kind of have a habit of looking back at these teams' performances and trying to notice trends between success and player situations. Kaiten missed the first 2 weeks for Hope Guardians, and since they got back to playing games, it has dramatically increased their success. They've had some much more solid performances team-wise since they've been added back in. So statistically, you can see the difference that this player makes in terms of gameplay, probably a team aspect there as well. So really, really big addition to that roster now.
Kaiden, definitely. Again, another player from that A10 Esport roster showing up a lot this season. I ended up going for Tiny Tiger from Brig Divers. Brig Divers obviously I'm pretty sure they have a weird support situation where like some of them are supports, some of them are flexes, but Tiny Tiger was the one that I felt like did really well in the support role throughout the entire season. She's been really good. I really can't say a lot. Tiny Tiger from Brig Divers definitely has been a strong player over on that roster. Let's move over to Discord North America, starting off with you, Apathy. Who is your pick for best support?
I went with Rocket. I think he was a big piece of getting that upset over Reminiscence. A very solid, like safe backline player. Never seems to be too aggressive. A very foundational flex support. I gotta go with Rocket here.
Train, your thoughts or your pick?
So I went for a team that has had a lot of success that we haven't really talked about almost at all on the podcast this season, and that is Loki. And from Loki, I'm picking Ty Monster for the shout out here. One of those players that really doesn't get enough credit, right? I think they've kind of been overlooked a lot in past seasons, but this season they've really stepped into their own and had some solid carry performances, just living in that ball comp forever. So really well done to them, and a huge part of Loki's success so far.
Ty Munster, a really good caster, and originally was going to be an off-tank player this season, switched over to the flex support just so he could play for Loki, and I gotta say, he's definitely been a good linchpin for that team. I definitely could see a lot of success in Ty Munster. I ended up going for another Redacted player. Yes, now you can call me biased, but I went for Prime from Redacted, who really showed up when it came to that SEAL Team Spuds match. Prime has been a really good member for Redacted for a few seasons now, and they not only can they play the main support, they can play a really nasty Zenyatta as well, which you'd love to see that sort of mechanical skill come out of your main support players. So I picked Prime from Redacted. Definitely a good pick overall. Let's move over to Discord EU. Apathy, who's your pick for best support?
I went with the best Jinx on Feeders Divided. Looking back to that feature, the Feeders Bowl versus Feeders United, I feel like they were the bright spot of Feeders Divided in that match. So yeah, gotta go with them.
Train, your pick.
I went for Ure on Feeders United. Again, when I'm thinking backline in a lot of these different tiers, I'm thinking consistency, right? If you have a lot of flashy plays and the other half of the time they don't work out and you int, probably not a good sign for consistent success. But Ure, the ultimate definition of consistency. So big contributing factor in Feeders United's dominance so far this season.
Seems to be a panel of Feeders players. As I ended up choosing Emily from Feeders Divided, they definitely have seemed like a very strong support player this season. I believe we talked about them last week as well, but Emily has been really good this season, and honestly, definitely has been a very good pick for that best support role. Let's round up the support role with Transcendence here. Apathy, who's your pick for best support?
I went with Aplum. I think they've kind of been bounced around a couple teams, but they look pretty good for that Devil Dukes roster. Definitely one of the better players there. I think they look like a different team when we see Aplum and Clown Dog in on that support role together. So yeah, gotta go with them.
Aplum, already mentioning that Cam would be the best off-tank winner, now getting his best support winner as well. Train, your pick for best support.
And I went for Chief on Devil Dukes, the event week champion of the world themselves, doing the same thing on match day as well. So really the X factor for that team. When it goes well, it goes great. And so well done to Chief. A lot of great plays this season so far.
Chief definitely, we all know them as the #1 event week winner, winning almost sweeping every event in Season 7. Can't say the same about his team that season, but still, Chief has been a really good player overall for Devil Dukes this season. Definitely has been a welcome addition to that org. I ended up going for Sly from the Guangzhou Gangsters. There isn't really much to say elsewise. Sly was a really strong player. They were a candidate for best support last season, and honestly, I feel like that they've continued to live up to that role this week, so definitely going to have to give my mention to Sly from the Guangzhou Gangsters. Let's round up these with our final category, Best Coach. Sometimes the best people on a team are the ones you don't get to see. The players who are behind the scenes, making sure everything is working and everything is functioning. Apathy, who is your pick for North American Harmony Best Coach?
I went with Womp Dump. I think this has been Strix's arguably one of their best seasons yet so far, at least, fingers crossed. And I think with generally a lot of similar players, or potentially even losing some of their talented players like Mimp and PVB, to be continuing to do this well is a sign of good coaching and good scouting. So I went with Womp Dump.
Womp Domp definitely. I can speak for myself. I can speak for myself. My former tank partner in season 6 definitely is a good and definitely knowledgeable player. So Womp Domp definitely deserving of that role. Train, your pick for best coach.
I went for Capital and Choi Soo Hwan from Flashbacks. A team like this doesn't get as good as they are without a solid coaching presence, especially not as consistently as they've been at the top, even coming back from an off season last season. So really, I know Choi has been doing the work with that team and the work themselves as well. So massive credit. Like, you're doing great work over there.
Definitely Capital and Choi Soo-won doing good with flashbacks, especially in their return season. I ended up going for Ashes from Geometric. Ashes, I mean, first off, let's talk about Geometric. Last season, they were a B group team. They weren't too great. They were pretty all right, but they didn't really seem to hit those big marks in the match wins. This season, showing up 4-0, going to be 5-0 after this week, assuming a team doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. They've been really good, and I really got to give that credit to Ashes on that coaching role. Was a former player for Geometric, moved over to a coaching position this season, and honestly, they've been a really pivotal part in Geometric's success, in my opinion. So, well done to Ashes, and honestly, just keep it up. Geometric has been really good this season because of your success. Let's move over to Harmony EU now, starting off with you, Apathy. Who is your pick for best coach?
You got to go with Agent Toms for the Hope Guardians. There's a lot of talent on other teams, a lot of good coaches there, but a team like Hope Guardians that doesn't really have, they've got the players from A10, right?
It is pretty much made of entirely A10 players.
Yeah, so A10 kind of struggling last season, coming in this season to now be a 4-0 team. There's definitely some credit there to the coaches as well.
Train, your pick for best coach.
I went with Turnip 2 from Aesir. Just looking through their match history, they had a tough 0-3-1 loss to Celsius 522, and they turned that straight around next week into a 3-2 win over a scary Dino Nuggies team. That kind of mental turnaround just simply does not happen without a solid coach line behind it. So you can be proud of that. Well done.
Definitely Turnip 2, a really good coach. That was actually my pick as well, Turnip 2 from Acer. Definitely a really good coach. Acer has always been known as this weird middle-of-the-road team where they can take the top teams very close, but they can also take the bottom teams really close. And I definitely feel like Turnip at the helm has definitely helped Acer get a little bit more consistent in that value, and they've been able to get some pretty good wins in that respect. So definitely Turnip a really strong factor here for Acer, and I can't wait to see what that team is going to be able to accomplish with Turnip at the helm moving forward. Let's move over to Discord North America, Apathy. Starting with you, who's your pick for best coach?
I think I stole yours. I went with the Mormon for Redacted. Been with them since last season. They did really well last season, and I think they are continuing to do it this season, and I think they finally deserve some credit.
For the record, I was going to say the Mormon for Transcendence tier as well, but saying the Mormon definitely, you didn't steal mine. I did not think you stole mine because I can say the Mormon has done very well this season, so definitely a good performance from them. Train, your pick for best coach.
I went for Pyrosia from Hammerhead. This is a player that I've actually known for a really long time. I was one of the first people that they VOD reviewed when they were learning to become a coach through the gymnasium. And they have really grown into the role since then. Like, the work they've done with Hammerhead this season, Hammerhead last season, kind of middle of the bottom of the pack in terms of standings. This season, kind of middle of the top of the pack, or middle of the pack, right? And a lot of overlap there, a lot of good lessons learned. And Pyrosia, really cool to see you developing your own style as well.
Yeah, definitely Hammerhead do a big improvement over last season. I ended up going for probably an obvious choice. I went for Para from MI7. MI7 has had a very good storyline this season, and especially if they're able to come back from losing the preseason 4-1 to then beating Reminiscence 3-1 in the regular season, that takes a lot of mental fortitude for a team to be able to do that. That takes a lot of coaching help, that takes a lot of strategy, and that takes a lot of help behind the scenes, and I definitely feel like Para was probably the main reason why they were able to take that match against Reminiscence, so really good job from Para, and I definitely feel like that they are a very good candidate for best coach for MI7 this season. Well, quick final reminder before we head over to the final two tiers. I'm going to be asking for my random number generator to draw a winner at the pretty much around the Transcendence tier. So, if you want to get your giveaway entries in, now is the time as we cover the Discord EU tier. Apathy, we'll start with you. Who is your pick for Discord EU best coach?
There's not too many coaches in Discord EU. I went with the coaches for Mythical Kitsune. It was Monkey and I'm slipping on the other one now. Monkey and I thought I wrote it down. Fargonet.
Yes, Fargonet. Thank you.
Yes, Monkey, aka Herman, and Fargonet. I think Mythical Kitsune has played close to a lot of really good teams, and they look pretty good at times. So got to give some credit to them.
Yeah, definitely Mythical Kitsune doing well. Train, your pick for Discord EU coach.
Yeah, I went for the staff from Paid to Win. I'm not sure exactly who is the head coach or the more consistent coach over there on the Paid to Win side of things. But really, they've been improving dramatically, right? The results haven't exactly shown on paper, but individually, they're playing with a much better rhythm than they were at the beginning of the season. Individually, they've improved micro mechanics and micro mistakes pretty significantly. So this is a team that I'm looking to really start to turn around when the macro playing field is leveled a little bit more in Overwatch 2. So keep your eye on them.
Yeah, definitely be interesting to see how well Paid to Win do. I ended up... So the big thing about Discord tier EU has 3 teams with coaches. We've already mentioned 2 of them thus far. Paid to Win and Mythical Kitsune. So the other one is Berserk. So as much as I would like to say Berserk, I ended up also saying Mythical Kitsune because Mythical Kitsune have been the more consistent team compared to Berserk. Yes, Berserk are the kings of 2CP, but they kind of lost that title after the past couple weeks. So definitely I feel like the Mythical Kitsune coaches have been a little bit better in that aspect. So definitely the Mythical Kitsune coaches have been up there, and I think they definitely are deserving of best coach in that tier. Let's wrap up the best coach category with the Transcendence tier. Apathy, starting with you. Who's your best coach for Transcendence tier?
I went with Scene because what better coach could you have than someone who jumps in and plays for you, and maybe potentially carries you to a win. And that big upset over Devil Duke, Scene was ringing for them. It was ringing last week on the Roadhog, didn't look so good, but we're not gonna count that one, so I'm going with Scene.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta love those coaches who are always willing to jump in when you need them the most. So Scene definitely being able to fill that quota very well. Train, your pick for best coach.
I went for Lucksmith from Oath. Anyone who doesn't know the Oath story, this is a group of high school students who have been together, played together at LANs, right? Their staff has remained consistent. They had a kind of middling showing in Discord tier last season, but since then,
Top
individually... 4. Oh, top 4. Yeah, they were top 4, actually. I'm sorry. A very successful season last season in Discord tier, especially towards the end. And then individually, the SRs just skyrocketed at the end of the season. If you watch back any VODs they have, Lucksmith is probably the most encouraging and professional coach I've seen in Tranquility, period. So really, really a massive credit to them. The stuff they're doing with the Oath program over there is really inspirational to see. So amazing work, honestly.
We here at Tranquility all love Oath, and honestly, Lucksmith has been a really good coach for Oath since the beginning. I unfortunately had to go for a very obvious pick because you picked these 2. I picked 7 Kernmaster from Guangzhou Gangsters. I don't know which one does the more involvement of the 2, but both of them have been. I mean, if Guangzhou Gangsters have been as dominant as they are since the season has begun and since last season too, I think there's no denying that 7 Kernmaster have to be the minds behind it, because if it weren't for Guangzhou Gangsters, I mean, there's two reasons they could be it. Synergy and coaching, and I feel like the coaching definitely is helping out in that factor. So Guangzhou Gangsters doing really good in that area. Let's head over now to our next question. Some rapid fire questions. I'm going to be shooting some questions out to these two analysts, and they have to answer as fast as they can. Let's start off with our first question. Teams you expect to make the biggest slash after a bad stage 1, Apathy?
I went with Vampires. I think they have a lot of talent that isn't known in Trank, but talking to some people over in UGC or BPL, there's a lot of star players from those tournaments here, so I'm looking to see Vampires bounce back.
Train, your pick.
I went for Death Cards, surprisingly unsuccessful start to the season, but a bunch of players who have really strong fundamentals and pick up on macro really quickly. So definitely looking forward to them in Overwatch 2.
Next up, teams that will be overrated after a strong stage 1, Apathy.
This is tough because it does sound, it's like, I don't want to be too mean, but I got to go with Insidious. Potentially, other than Koala Kings, who they play this week, it looks like the weakest pool in the entire tournament. And so, they're sitting at 4-0, but I don't know how long they can keep going at that pace.
Train.
Yeah, I actually went for Hope Guardians here. A very strong lead over the rest of the EU Harmony tier, but no actual really clean matches. I think they've dropped the map to everyone they've played. So a little bit shakier than the 4-0 may seem at the top there.
That's correct. We talked so well about Hope Guardians this entire time, and now you just throw that at them now.
Got to throw it for the twist. Make sure the people are paying attention.
Make sure they're paying attention. All right, speaking of paying attention, player that nobody is talking about that people should be paying more attention to, Apathy.
I went with Kilroy on Koala Kings. I mean, we were just talking about that Insidious group, Koala Kings in the same one. Maybe their strength of schedule isn't that good, but at least they are 16-0 in terms of maps. They haven't dropped any maps, and Kilroy is putting up, in my opinion, an MVP caliber, and I think that will continue in stage 2.
It's definitely interesting. We haven't talked a lot about Koala Kings this entire roster, or this entire season, so I think that's
because their group is a little weak, but
You're not wrong.
I don't know. At some point, we can't hold it against them too much. They are 16-0 in maps, and potentially going to go 20-0 with a golden stage.
True.
We'll see if it happens. Train.
I went for Crom for the Arctic Foxes. Massive leader over on that main tank, I believe. Really big factor in their win over the Devil Dukes. So big credit. Yeah, nice job.
A Reinhardt player you would love to have on your team in the GOATS meta, Apathy.
I'm going to take a combination answer here. Looking over at the Decapitators man tank, I'll take Andy when he's healthy, but if he's not, I'm happy to have my boy Magpolar filling in for that main tank too. So I'll take the duo, that duo, the injured old man and the young upstart Italian.
That is the interesting description to describe that duo there. Train, your pick.
I went for Magic Otter. I love Magic Otter with a passion. Known as a ball player, but that guy leads with his W key, and I absolutely love to see it. So
you gotta love those Reinhardts that love being aggressive. Speaking of aggressive, or at least the lack thereof, the Lucio player you would trust not to feed, Apathy.
I'm going with Hypno. We talked about Vex for Ace High. I think Hypno is the second star of that team. Lucio is his best character, and he doesn't seem to, at least, maybe he does feed, but it's not feeding if you don't die and you kill the other people, so it's fine.
Train.
I went for Jonko from Hive Mind. Seriously, if you have time, go watch their Kings Row versus Hope Guardians. They lose like 3 fights. Jonko never dies and charges 2 beats in the first like 2.5 minutes. It's wild. So a rock for that team, especially in the Brawl.
We'll have to see how well Junko lives out moving forward. How about the Widow player who would most likely clinch your Junkertown match, Apathy?
I feel like Widow players we're seeing less and less of them. There's a lot of good, people that have good Widows, but they're more of a Tracer main or a Cast main. So I'm going to go throw it to one of the true Widow mains that we have in Trank, which is Widow main on the Galactic Gibbons, aka Sime. Kind of, not a one trick, but definitely his preferred hero. So I'll take that experience anytime.
A true Widow specialist, especially last season in Harmony tier. Train, your pick.
I went for Moose on Culture over in the Transcendence tier. They had a nuts performance on Junkertown this week, really just wild, killing 2, 3 every other fight. Unfortunately, Decaps were able to do a lot of solid work on the front line on that map, but Moose was doing a ton of work on the Widow.
Yeah, definitely good Widow players all around. Let's move over to our next one. The player you'd most fear to challenge in a 1v1 arena, Apathy.
I went with Smugs. I think I was on this episode last season, and I went with Smugs again. But I mean, it's true. I don't know. My answer's not gonna change. He plays like every single character in the entire game to a really high level, and he'd beat me in any other game too. Like I don't know. I mean, we could hop into 1v1 arena in any game, and I would lose. So gotta be
Give him a
Smugs.
week to learn a new game, and he'll beat you at it. Doesn't matter.
Give him,
Yeah,
give him a day.
there's so many games that he already knows. I mean, Apex, Pokemon. I have played him and lost to him in all of those. So
Your season 2 MVP definitely showing their skill there. Train, your pick.
I went for LCS over on that Amnesia squad. This guy is like masters all roles on ping from Chile. I am so afraid of what happens when LCS gets reasonable ping. He might be the best player in the world. I really don't get it. I'm so afraid of what he could possibly become in the right environment.
We could see a situation where LCS has the Hottie cycle, Hottie on ping versus Hottie on land. Moving forward, honestly, I would not be surprised if that was the case.
I think they're the same player. I'm convinced.
I've never seen them in the same room before.
Exactly. There you go.
Definitely. All right. Which team do you expect to have the best run out of the elimination pool, Apathy?
I don't think they're quite locked to the elimination pool yet, but I did still go with them, and it's the Krabby Crabbers up in Trance tier. I think there's like a couple scenarios where they could make the B pool. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But I believe they're only sitting on 1 win right now. So I think that they have a lot of talent on their roster, and we're in a pretty tough pool, so I'm expecting them to bounce back.
There still is a potential that they might not make Elan pool, but if they do, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to come back with it. Train, your pick.
I went for whoever loses between Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies and Chicago Mafia this week over in Harmony Tier NA. I believe the loser of that match goes to Elan pool. If not both of them, I don't think both would.
No, Fighting Potatoes is the other one.
Fighting Potatoes is the other one. Okay, awesome. So, both those teams really, really strong. I think in any other pool, they probably would have done much better than Elan pool. It's just kind of the luck of the draw. So, likely to make a good run.
All right. Second to last question here. What was the best match of Stage 1 so far? Apathy.
It's hard to pick against MI7 versus Rem, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen a lot of strong teams go head-to-head all across the Discord tier, but I think that one's got to take the cake.
Train, your pick.
As much as it hurts my heart, I had to take X Kusanagi versus BBB. As a BBB coach, it makes me sad, but watching X Kusanagi really turn that around, especially as a new team to the tier, really, really exciting. I love to see the new talent that a new season brings in, and they demonstrated that pretty early on, too.
All right, last question here for both of you. The team you think has the best shot to win the championship in their tier? Apathy.
There's a lot of favorites in every tier, but I was really just going for, I think the one that is, I took the best shot as like the highest percentage. So, there's a lot of tier favorites, but some of them, there's kind of 1 or 2 teams that are standing at the top right now that look like they could take it. Except for, in my opinion, in the Discord tier EU. I feel like Feeders United is favored like 8-2, whereas some of these other tiers might be 7-3 or 6-4. So I'm going with Feeders United.
Train, your pick.
I went for the Decapitators in the Transcendence tier. I think, Guangzhou Gangsters, obviously another favorite in that tier, sitting right there on top. But I think Decaps has a lot of upward swing. I know you've got Magpolar running the tank now, still kind of developing there. A few players who have been really stepping it up and grinding super hard. So I think Decaps might have a higher cap than it even looks like they could right now.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good teams in all these tiers, but it's going to be interesting to see who comes out with the championship. Before I head over to my comms check, first off, I'm going to yell at Smokey. And now we're heading over to our comms check, where our comms check this week was edited by Biscuit. Thank you very much, Biscuit, for editing this week's comms check.
Guys, gals, non-binary pals, welcome back to another YouTube video. This is how we're gonna 4-0 these weirdos. I don't know.
Two EJ63.
Okay, wait. I don't know how to pull up. What is it? What is it?
Two EJ.
Children can be cruel.
6? What? 6?
Six.
6.
Yeah,
What are we talking about?
As didn't know how many
Talking
heads
about
there were
colons.
to a colon.
You talk about like the thing on the keyboard,
Huh? Oh,
like
how?
a colon.
Please explain to me when I say Florida doctor did a procedure on the wrong end of a Florida man's colon, halting Florida man's ability to pass gas or excrete race through his weir. How does that how?
He turned it into a semicolon.
Okay, one, thank you for being funny. That's going in comms check. Two, fuck you. I hate you.
I'm backing down. I'm backing down. Okay, bueno, okay, you need to.
I have a shield over here.
We lost water.
Dude,
Chase?
I'm a monster.
You're going hard, dude.
I'm a monster.
Calm down, bro.
My God. Who's this?
Hey, more down. Huge. Lucia. 6-1.
Oh my god!
Someone's alive. Back behind.
Okay, they don't get touched. Don't get touched.
Nice one, Max. Mate, sorry, nice one.
Yeah, just everyone.
Everyone, good job. Love you guys.
Your fluxes are like when I'm calling fluxes in my head, you're doing them, so that's pretty sick.
Hey, man.
Dude, are you just controlling has like Ratatouille?
Yeah, I'm pulling has his little hairs, dude. I'm sitting in his hat.
It was obligatory ball map.
Yep. Gotta get it in.
I love
Time to play Zen.
Are you okay?
Nah, dude, I'm.
This is where these Zen maps.
He's going through Zen withdrawals right now.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
No way.
3, 2, 1. It's 2021.
Happy New Year.
Whoa! Yay!
Хорош.
Yeah, I'm gonna use it next time.
Can you guys get out?
No, we're going in.
fighting here. This is winnable.
Okay.
Those were two huge pigs.
Winnable.
You guys almost got back.
Baptiste's hacked.
Please tell me this isn't real.
This is Mev.
Widow on a Zen.
I'm pulling Hog.
Hog.
Wait, Widow?
Yeah, Widow.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again, Biscuit, for that amazing comms check video. Make sure you guys keep submitting those comms check clips. We love seeing all your ridiculous comms every single week. Let's go to our matches to watch this week. Apathy, which match do you want us to watch this week?
I'm going with Spuds versus Space Created. The Spuds can, to quote Yeti, make a pool with some funky scenarios. So I'm excited if we see something funky this week. I think these are two really good teams in my opinion, the strongest pool that we have in Trank, like the most parity in a pool that we have in Trank for stage 1. And I'm very curious to see how it's going to shake out, because he was saying that there were too many scenarios to even write down or do the math for basically those top 4 teams in that pool to make A or B pool. So that's my match to watch.
Train, what match are you watching?
Alright, I am watching Avalon versus Doodles in the Discord tier. Okay, and here's why. Both of them in the same pool. Both of them 4-0. Both of them have the exact same map differential, and both of them are never mentioned anywhere at all by anyone ever. Okay? So I don't know anything about these two teams. They might be the same team. Honestly, we might have just written their records down in the spreadsheet twice. I don't know, but I need to see them do something on match day. I'm taking Doodles 3-1 because I will never do doubt Doodles ever again. I can't do it to myself.
Listen, you should know better. You definitely know. You definitely took that from me. Doubting Doodles is a terrible idea. I'm going to be cursed here, and I'm going to say two teams that are probably going to be haunting me for the rest of my life and might kill the stream for a second. Amnesia versus Devil Dukes. So hear me out on this. Both of these teams have been extremely inconsistent. Amnesia have dropped maps to teams that they really should not be dropping maps to, and Devil Dukes lost to the Arctic Foxes, which is one of their only 2 wins this entire season. And here they are battling for the top spot in Indigo Pool. It's all up to this to determine who gets the top spot in Indigo Pool, and it's going to be one heck of a show. As for a winner, it's going to be cursed, but I'm saying 3-2 for the Devil Dukes. I think that they probably have the better chance and are probably more consistent in their map wins than Amnesia. So we'll see if they're able to live up to that hype. Couple of announcements as well. If you liked our predictions, I have some good news. Right after this broadcast, we have Predicting Tranquility Were Nerfed. Master Ryan and Seraph will be predicting every single match happening in Tranquility this week. You do not want to miss that. I apologize for keep looking at my monitors because I'm trying to scroll through many different pages and try to figure out some things. And like our feature matches for the week. Tomorrow, I believe at an earlier time, we might be starting at 30 minutes early at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 Central European Time. But somewhere in that time, we have our European feature match where Brig Divers are taking on the Hope Guardians to determine if Hope Guardians are going to be going 5-0 entering the second part of the tournament. After that, later that day at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have EX Kusanagi taking on Chinchillas in our Harmony North America match. On Wednesday, it's the Transcendence tier. We have Classified taking on Reckless Sigma. On Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central European, it's Feeders United versus Berserk. And finally, at 9 p.m. Eastern, is Adelaide Eclipse versus MI7. A lot of good matches this week, and it doesn't stop there for this week. On Friday, we technically start Event Week, Season 9, where we're going to be having our Staff Admin Pugs Night. Make sure, if you haven't already, sign up for the Staff Pugs form that's been posted all across the Tranquility Gaming server. If you want to participate in the Staff Pugs Night, it's a super fun night, and you get to teabag on the admins. So if you want to teabag your least favorite staff member, like Apathy over here, you can sign up for Staff Admin Pugs Night. As well, we also have another thing signing up as well. Another sign-up form coming in tonight. The Tranquility Team Fight Tactics Tournament number 3, I'm guessing, Train? Am I correct?
We're at like number 4 right now or something, but it's the Tranquility
4 for Train, 2 for Train.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Tranquility number 2.
You can also teabag me in that tournament if you can figure out how to emote your little legend.
And
I will be playing in it. So
if you've never played TFT before and you'd like to learn, I will teach you. Just send me a DM.
Yeah,
very easy.
Definitely TFT, definitely an interesting game. It'll be interesting to see how well that goes. If you want to sign up, you can sign up when the forum releases sometime later today or tomorrow, sometime this week. Definitely gonna be fun. It already is out. Well, I've just been confirmed that. So there you go. If you want to sign up, you can now by finding the form on the Tranquility Discord server. Other forms we also have moderator applications now open. If you would like to be more of a part in the Tranquility community and try to apply for a moderator position, if you feel like you have what it takes, you can sign up for the moderator position in using the form linked in announcements. We are looking for moderators for the Tranquility server entering our Overwatch 2 phase. Event Week signups are also available. Please, GMs, get your signups in for Event Week. Event Week is next week. We're going to raise a bunch of money for charity, and we're going to have super fun and amazing events, such as Overwatch 2 Pugs on Tuesday, Brawl Night on Wednesday. That's Overwatch Orisa Javelins Torb Hammer Brawl, and Anna Paintball. On Thursday, we have our 3v3 elimination tournament. On Friday, we have our Widow 1v1 tournament. And next Sunday, we have our TXCXX 1v1 tournament. It's a jam-packed week full of everything Tranquility. We also, of course, have the Tranquility Teamfight Tactics tournament and the Fall Guys night on Monday. So make sure you stay tuned for Event Week. That's going to be happening next week. With that in mind, there will be no podcast next week. We'll be returning on October 10th to cover stage number 2. Last announcement before I announce our drawing, make sure you stay tuned to Tranquility for any urgent announcements about Overwatch 2. Like, if you want to know, like, what's the map pool going to be? What's the SR requirements going to be? How long is it going to be until we play Kiriko? Wait. We are going to be announcing it as soon as Overwatch 2 releases. As soon as we can get everything started, then we will be posting announcements related to stage number 2 and Tranquility moving forward as we enter Overwatch 2. And, of course, it's now time for our giveaway winner. Our winner for the giveaway, can I get a drum roll, please? Or random number generator? I'll take what Apathy's doing as a drum roll. Our winner for the giveaway is Tabmaster. The Deep Dish Manager winning it out. Whoa.
I think that Master put in like 100k points.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would not be surprised.
I'm seeing calls for reroll. Please forward all your complaints to NPC. I mean, to be fair, NPC didn't even message me the name correct. He said a person named Dambaster, so I'm guessing that they're... Whoever Dambaster is, congratulations. You win a shirt from the Tranquility store at shop.spreadshirt.com/tranquilitygg. So, congratulations to Dambaster. But, yeah, definitely, again, that's it. But that is it for us. Before I go out, we have a very special announcement. My analysts actually don't know about this either. So, Tranquility Gaming has a very special announcement today regarding our commissioner, Cavalier. This morning, he welcomed the newest member to the Tranquility Gaming family. His daughter, Mackenzie, was born today. It's his first child, and his wife and daughter are both happy and healthy currently. We here at the Iris hope that all of you will join us in congratulating Cavalier to the new addition to his family. Congratulations, Cavalier, our wonderful commissioner. We hope it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time for you these next few years of your life. But that is it for us here at the Iris podcast. For my wonderful analysts, Train and Apathy and Train, as I put the hands in the correct direction, we thank you all for gazing into the Iris with us. My name is Bowsy. Until we meet again, we hope you have an amazing night and an amazing week in Tranquility Gaming.
Experience tranquility. Pass into the Iris.